Good day, STEM students. Today, we're going to have the part 5 of vectors. This part will deal on the answers for practice number 3, which you will see in the PowerPoint presentation uploaded in Canvas. This practice number 3 will uh, revolve around components of vectors as topic. So I will show you 4 vectors or vector diagrams, and then the task is to find the components of the specific vectors. Here we have vector A. And as you can see, the angle is 12 degrees and then it is relative to the y-axis. But remember, the equations that we have, the a sub x is equal to a cosine theta, and then the a sub y is equal to a sine theta, is only applicable if the angle is relative to the x-axis. So we have to find the angle that is relative to the x-axis. We just have to subtract 12 from 90, so we will have 78 degrees. So in the equation here, itong equation natin, this one, the a cosine theta, the theta here will not be 12 degrees but 78 degrees. And then we are given the magnitude of A, which is 4.5 kilometers. So we're just going to substitute it here. That's 4.5 kilometers, this A, and then you multiply that by cosine 78. The same goes here. It's A, which is 4.5 kilometers, and then sine 78 degrees. The results will be 0.94 kilometers and 4.4 or 4.40 kilometers. Now, why is it that the a sub x is positive and then the a sub y is negative? The reason, again, if you may recall, is because our angle, or rather our vector A is located at the fourth quadrant. And in the fourth quadrant, the x component or the x coordinate is positive while the y coordinate is negative. Those are the basis for our positive and negative signs. Now let's have this one. As you can see, again, the angle is relative to the y-axis. And since that's 45, we can assume that the angle relative to the x-axis is also 45 degrees. And then we have the magnitude of B, that is 4.5 kilometers. We just have to substitute that here. B, which is 4.5 cosine 45 degrees, and then B, again, which is 4.5 kilometers, sine 45 degrees. Now, again, these are the results. As you may notice, if the angle is 45 degrees, the b sub x and then the b sub y, or the x and y components, will have the same numerical values. However, it is also possible that they will have different signs. So, pag nasa quadrant A to, 45 degrees, no? Uh, yung isa, mag-iiba yung sign, depende pa rin sa kung nasaang quadrant siya, di ba? Pag sa first quadrant siya, equal yung kanyang magnitude, pero the x will have positive and then the y will have positive. If it's in the second quadrant naman, the x, pareho sila pag 45 degrees. Pag sa second quadrant naman, mag-iiba yung sign nila because the x will be negative and then the y will be positive. In the third quadrant, katulad nito, both of them will be negative, and then if it is found in the fourth quadrant, they will have again the same numerical value, but the x will be positive while the y will be negative. Yan. Next example natin. Okay, so this time, vector C, we no longer have to minus or subtract 80 degrees from 90 because it is already relative to the x-axis. So, as is na siya, we will input that in the equation that we have. That's C cosine theta and then C sine theta. And we use the 80 degrees already. And again, this will be the results if you input that in your calculator. And because vector C is in the second quadrant, the x component will be negative and the y component will be positive. And then lastly, for vector D, which is one-dimensional, since it is on the y-axis rather, we no longer need to actually use this. Di mo na yan siya kailangan. No? Automatic, the d sub x will be 0 since it is again in the y-axis. And then the d sub y will just be the same magnitude, but the sign is negative. Ay, positive rather. The sign is positive. So, kapag si vector D, makita mo siya dito sa south. Kung nandito sa south siya, magiging negative naman tong 4.5. Okay? That's all. Thank you for listening to part 5 of lecture for vectors. Next, wait for the video for vector addition part 1. So, si vector addition naman is divided into 2 parts. That's all.